Hello, my name's Robert Thompson. Welcome to Patty and Robert's uh, video sessions talking about all things freelancing. Today, I'm going to be talking about building your reputation online. Let me move my picture out of the way so you can see the whole slide. Okay, reputation is very important in freelancing. It impacts your contract wins, um, which really is based on client trust. So they'll go back and look at what other clients have said, and it affects your hourly rates, how much you can charge. If you've got a good reputation and a good track record, it's easier to raise your rates. Um, it impacts job invitations. A lot of new freelancers don't realize that invitations are sent based on people scanning your profile and looking at your job history. And so that will decide whether or not you even see a job invitation for something that you might really like. It also affects invite-only badges, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. So Upwork and all of the freelancing platforms have tools to help clients see who they can trust and who they can't. One of the key components for Upwork is the job success score. The job success score is based on your client feedback, um, and that's also visible to the other clients. So if a client gives you a written feedback, that's in your record, and if it's good, it's great. If it's bad, you may have to do something about it. They look at your earnings history. How much money have you made with the jobs? If it's all low price jobs, they know that you're probably just getting started. And they look at your responsiveness. If somebody gives you an offer or sends you a proposal, how quickly do you respond? Badges and levels. As you go through freelancing on Upwork, most new people get the Rising Talent badge. And this is awarded after you've shown that you have a few jobs, you earned a little bit of money, and you have the type of skills that they think clients would like. Top rated is for people that have done a good job over time. Um, you need to keep earning a certain amount each year. Otherwise, you get dropped out of top rated. Top rated plus is an invitation only badge that when Upwork sees that you're doing a good job, they basically are recommending you by adding you into top rated plus, saying you've been vetted by Upwork. So, how do you start building that um, reputation? The first thing is your portfolio. And we have videos on portfolios. And of course, the Barefoot Consulting classes cover this in depth. So I'm not going to go into this a lot. But basically, the keys are selecting the right services, um, and then keeping everything client focused. You want to put yourself in the position of the client who's going to be the hiring. Um, so that's why for anybody who's gone through any witness courses, um, cut down on the I's. It doesn't sound good when you say, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. It sounds like you're boasting. Um, a headline is what gets people into your portfolio, so that's very important. Spend a little extra time on that. And then you need to show that you have the skills that go with the services. You don't need to do every skill that you have, but you have to do the one that go with the services that you're selling. And then finally, you want a professional photo. You don't want to look bad when you're trying to sell yourself. Um, just summarize quality over quantity. You don't want to have a lot of information in your profile. You want to have the information that supports what you're selling. And for your portfolio, um, case study approach is good because it shows not only what you did, but what the impact of what you did on the business that you were doing it for. Um, Anybody who's gone through our courses will have heard the mantra. You start out with small, low risk, quick jobs so you can get in a week 10 jobs that are done quickly and you get 5-star ratings. And there's actually some prompts you can use to do that. And again, that's in some other videos, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. And then you want to do good proposals when you're writing. You want to make sure it's not boilerplate, it's personalized for the job. You want to address the client's needs, um, especially for larger jobs. You want them to be convinced that you can help them solve their problem. And then you want a clear call to action. Um, I don't know how many times people have read through proposals, you get to the end, it's like, okay, let me go to the next proposal. Well, you don't want them to do that. You want them to actually take a step from there. Um, and it's very important to be quick when you respond. If if the job's been out there for a week and there's 100 people that applied for it, it may not be worth applying for, unless it's one of those jobs that says we're going to hire a number of people to do this. Um, I've had several that where they want just voice information, so they want hundreds of people to apply. So, um, so the big thing with setting up your reputation is you want to deliver a great client experience. Um, so that means you want to make sure you're clear on the expectations. So you want to clarify that with the client. Um, you want to respond promptly whenever the client um, lets you know about something. You want to provide regularly updates, and you want to meet or exceed deadlines. And then finally, you want to handle revisions professionally. Um, a lot of times the revision may be something that the client didn't realize they wanted, or it may be once they see what you've done and what you can do, they say, oh, well, that would be better if. So, that is great. That's the type of interaction you want to have. Sometimes it's a little frustrating if the client keeps changing things. Well, that gets into scope control, and we'll talk about that. But basically, you want to handle it professionally. Um, you want to ask for feedback when you've done your job. So you want to create a review-worthy experience. If the client has any problems, I've had clients where I've done a job for them. They've asked for some enhancements, and then I've done more work for them, and then, oh, what happened with the budget? And then you have to explain and go through, well, this is what you asked for, this is the enhancements, and this is what it costs to do those. Um, and sometimes you'll have difficult clients. Um, Sometimes you need to be able to de-escalate with a client. It's not always easy. I've had clients that just decided, well, it's easier for me to just finish it myself than to try and explain what I want done. It's like, well, then why did you bid on the job? But that's not something you want to say. Um, and you want to know when to walk away. There are times that clients will start taking advantage of you, and you'll suddenly find yourself having done 4 or 5 times the amount of work you proposed, and there's no new contract. There may be promises, but unless it's an actual contract on Upwork, you need to start thinking about walking away. Um, you also can use Upwork support for de-escalation. They usually are pretty client-centric, so You want to have everything documented and make sure you're going with the contract. But if you can show that you did what they said, you put all the information in Upwork messages so that Upwork can see it, and then the client just changed things at the last minute, then you can get some help from Upwork support. Um, Maintaining a high job success score is key to your reputation. Um, it's basically the job success score is calculated based on um, how you've done on each contract, what your reviews have been, what rating you got from the client, um, and then avoiding things like contract cancellations and disputes. You don't want to get to that point. Like I said, sometimes it happens, um, but you want to try to avoid it and handle it on your own if you can. And you want to show consistent performance over time. If you've had a number of successful jobs, Upwork will overlook one where you have a problem. Um, we said you want to start out with low-paying quick jobs, but then you want to start moving to higher value clients. Um, and a lot of this involves raising your rates. I just did a video on how to do that, so I'm not going to go into that. But a lot of it is changing your profile to show more specialized high value work. The other big thing is if you can build long-term client relationships, that's great. So clients that want you to come back again and again, fantastic. Um, so repeat business will help you. Now, the key there is to make sure you don't keep, you end the contract, get a good rating, and then start another one. Upwork doesn't recognize it as repeat business if you just keep adding on hours to an hourly contract. Um, Differentiation and personal branding. I said you want to move to higher value work. Well, the way you do that generally is by specializing. And many people that we work with have worked in industry for years and have industry knowledge or specific product knowledge you can leverage. And if you switch your profile so you're focusing more on those higher value jobs, one, you won't be searching through thousands of jobs because it's only one that you really want. Um, and you can position yourself as an expert so that clients see that you actually know what you're talking about that. Um, and sometimes that's through sharing insights. Um, Sometimes that's easier to do externally on a website, but again, you don't want to draw people away from Upwork more than you have to. So you want to get as much as you can in your profile and in your proposals. Um, Consistency across platforms. There are a lot of um, clients that do look at your outside work. So if you're on Indeed, if you're a developer and you have work on GitHub, they want to see that you have similar type of work across those platforms so that they know that you're specializing in what you say you are. Common pitfalls that can impact your reputation, overpromising and under-delivering. It's easy to it's easy to promise because a client asks you to promise for something. But be real careful about promising something unless you really know you can deliver it. And part of that is knowing the client. So, is this a client you really understand? Do you understand their business? Or are you learning about it? If you're learning about it, you want to be careful about what you promise. and you want to make sure that you clearly articulated your expectations. Um, Misaligned projects, again, it's easy to get caught on one of these, but you want to be real careful about jobs that do not fit in your wheelhouse. And I think Patty's doing a talk on that particular topic in another week or so. And then finally, poor communications habits. If you don't document what you're doing, that's a problem. If you don't use Upwork to document what you're doing, that means you don't have Upwork behind you. And finally, if the client gets confused about what you're doing, um, you're likely to get in a dispute. Um, some advanced strategies, leveraging testimonials outside of Upwork. Um, Again, be careful with this, but if you've published work that's outside on websites like written white paper for an industry site, that's something you may want to reference. Give the client enough information that they can do a basic decision on Upwork and only send them to the site when you need to. Another thing, and this helps you speed up, if you can create systems or templates for efficiency that let you do the job better, that helps a lot. Building a pipeline of inbound work, once you've started to get successful, especially if you have repeat clients, you want to put some jobs off and tell them you'll work on it next month as soon as you're done with work you're doing. So basically, you want to transition from a freelancer to a consultant or expert. So key takeaways, consistency is the what helps you build your reputation, and the client experience is key. If they like the work you did, you're going to get good reviews, pure and simple. And you want to have a strategic mindset versus short-term gains. Don't try and nickel and dime a customer that looks like they're going to have more work. So that's it for today. Come back to our next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you need coaching, contact us at info@rptvirtualservices.com or follow our blog on our website, www.rptvirtualservices.com. Have a great week.